All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, good morning and welcome to the second day for the Film as Peace Conference. Very happy to continue the excellent start that we got yesterday. The idea, as you know, with this conference is really to bring an international group together with an interdisciplinary group that we can really have an exchange. And I was just talking to Francesco this morning, what is the point of this conference? It's actually a twofold goal. The first goal, of course, is that we exchange insights, that we can learn from each other, hopefully be inspired, be provoked. The questions and answers, as I said, are just as important for us as the presentations. So even though this is the first presentation of the day, drink your coffee, do what you need to do, be active with the questions, with the discussions. I'm sure the speakers will appreciate that, and I think we'll get a lot more out of this as well. And as I also said yesterday, please make use of the informal time, coffee breaks, lunch breaks, etc. Moving to the Berlinale this evening, all of that sort of informal time is actually important time for follow-up conversations, networking, getting to know each other. And we really do hope that this can actually serve as a launch pad these few days, as opposed to just a conference in and of itself. And I'd love it, of course, if you stay in touch with us as well and let us know if you create a film together, in partnership with someone you met during this film conference, or if you have a festival taking place in Milan or somewhere else, let us know. And maybe we can support you, and maybe also you can support others in the work that they're doing. So those are, again, some of the expectations and the hopes that we have for the following few days. Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored and pleased to have the chance to introduce to you the first keynote speaker of the second day of the conference, Mr. Francesco Mattuzzi. Francesco Mattuzzi is a photographer as well as a video artist and was born in 1979, 1 year after myself. And he lives and works in Milan. He's an artist that uses photography and video as a means of research and representation of a contemporary social reality. His attention is especially caught by subcultures and their original contexts. Following are the titles of his completed movies and works in progress. 2014, The Weight of Dreams, where he was the director and the author. 2014, Pianeta Bianco, where he was the author and the director. 2012, Shapes, where he was the director and the author. 2011, The Weight of Dreams, which was a video installation that he did on 3 different screens. 2010, Future Archaeology, directed by Armin Linke, as well as Francesco Mattuzzi. And 2009, E-Roads, which was a video installation on monoscreen. So ladies and gentlemen, we're really very much looking forward to learning and hopefully being inspired by the opening keynote speaker of the day. If you could please join me in giving a very warm welcome for Mr. Francesco Mattuzzi. Thank you.
Hello, super nice presentation. I am, as most of the time, a filmmaker, a documentarist, and I was talking for the theme of this conference. It's about a film I made in 2010. It was called Future Archaeology, and it's a short that I present with the co-director Armin Link to the Venice Biennale at the Orizzonti competition. And the film, it's about a possible reuse of the Israeli occupied territories. And the film, it's in particular on a military base that it's close to Ramallah, and in this place we shoot in 3D, stereo 3D, and we try to get the idea was to the idea was to give a sense of reuse of this architecture for cultural purpose. So it's like we take this, in this case, abandoned military base, and the military base in a sense of cultural, so maybe a bibliothèque or something like that. And this project was cooperated with a group of architects that are based in Bethlehem. They are called the Colonizing Architecture, and they do this in Palestine. They try to thinking of what to do with these kind of places, abandoned places in the Israeli occupied territories. And I think in the film, the idea was not to give a spectacular vision. So in the film there are no bombs, there are no activism, so nothing happens in particular. But there is this sense that something is going to happen. That's the point. The point. And when it was shooting in 3D, is to give to the people the feeling to watching inside of a kind of magic box. So we have the perception of yes, it was a hyper surreal world. And after that, I think we can see maybe a part of this, and so you will understand better like this. There's no audio. It's coming there. Okay. In the video, there are 3 different people. One is an Israeli guy, and a Palestinian girl, and another guy from Palestine that is US based, and they give their point of view and personal stories of their relation with the Israeli and how it's the daily life in Palestine. This is kind of 3D models of the abandoned military base. And the film focuses on this.
Ghrab military camp was a place for me that has a lot of memories in my mind. I born in Bet Sahur, and this place was the most ugly place in my mind. I was afraid all the time that I found myself thereby, and when I was a child, I was seeing all these blue lights coming outside from this place. I was feeling controlled by the military and the soldiers that was occupying Ghrab at that time. And I was all the time preferring not to go in this area, not to be part of it, and not even to see it. But I knew deep in myself that I was controlled. I was controlled by these blue lights coming in all over the town. I had also some memories from the first intifada of this place. Once we were playing all in my neighborhood, all the children there, and the soldiers came and picked all the boys that were playing with us, and then all the neighborhood, all the people were gathered there, and everybody was asking where are these boys? And at a sudden we received this news that they are in Ishrab, and I was imagining, wow, how do they felt in Ishrab? What were they doing? How do the soldiers treat them? I also had in my mind my stereo. This is a funny story. When during the boycott, the tax boycott in Bet Sahur, they came at my place and they asked my father to pay officially the taxes, and he refused, as all the other people in Bet Sahur. And then they began gathering everything that was at my home. I had my very nice technological stereo that my parents gave it to me in present in my birthday, and of course they took also this. And when I asked where are they going with all this stuff, and they told me they are going in Ishrab, and again I was imagining my nice stereo from where I was hearing all the music there in Ishrab, gathered with all the other things that was stolen from the people of my town. And actually here again, the first time I entered this place was, I had a very contradictory feelings, different feelings among each other. I had some fear, I have to admit. I was happy, I had a sense of victory but I also felt a kind of void inside myself. But the most feeling that dominate all the other feelings is the openness. The openness, I was able to look around me 160 grades and look and turn my face and also shout without somebody hearing me. And for the first time, I was able to see Bethlehem as nice as it is. It was the first time I was able to look at it from that far away and to feel how they were looking at us. But here, instead of controlling, again, I'm having a great vision on Bethlehem, on my town, on the town where I passed my childhood, and not anymore. I had this oppression that Ashrab put on me, and every time I'm going there, I still have this contradictory feeling. I can't still live the place normally. I still have, but this, of course, having a park there, having all people that I know around, hearing Arabic language of people that are around me, hearing the animal voice, having all these people helped me very much, and helping me very much to re-establish my relationship with this place and with this evacuated military camp.
Zones of Palestine that may be liberated from direct Israeli presence provide us with a crucial laboratory to imagine the reuse or recycling of the architecture of Israel's occupation at the moment it is unplugged from the military political power that charged it. The question of the future archaeology of the occupation shifts between anarchy and government. If architecture is the means of a decade-long crime, then architecture must burn. But post-colonial government tended to reuse the infrastructure set up by colonial regime for their own purposes of government. Such repossessions tended, however, to reproduce colonial power relations in space. Our project seeks to spatialize a set of collective functions into the abandoned shells of the evacuated houses of the settlers. We believe that if the geography of occupation is to be liberated, its potential must turn against itself. Located on a hill of Jabal Tawil, about 900 meters above sea level, the settlement visually dominates the entire Palestinian area. Until the occupation, the hills of Jerusalem and Ramallah were popular with families from the Gulf, especially with Kuwaitis that traveled there to escape the summer heat. In 1964, the municipality of Al-Quds prepared a plan for its development into a tourist resort. The work was interrupted by the Israeli occupation. The colony of Psagot was inaugurated in July 1981. The first houses set on the hills of Jabal Tawil were prefabricated structures wheeled over from an evacuated settlement in northern Sinai. Settlement as suburban were put in relation to the Jewish geography in the occupied territories. They are fenced-up bedroom communities, fed by a growing matrix of roads and other infrastructure, but who could be understood as urban, were put in relation to Palestinian cities beside which they were built. The settlements are organized as optical devices on suburban scale. Their pattern of streets as concentric ring around the hilltop, the placement of each house, the space between the houses, and the organization of windows and rooms follow design principles that seek to maximize the power of vision with both national aesthetic and national strategic aims in mind. The pastoral view reinforces a sense of national belonging when it reads traces of Palestinian daily lives, olive groves and stone terraces, for example, as signifiers of an ancient holy landscape. The visual effect of the settlements on Palestinian is in generating a constant sense of being seen. From Palestinian cities, one can hardly avoid seeing a settlement, and one is most often seen by one. The surface of the suburb is marked by its various uses. It is inscribed extensively with the signs of petty bourgeois lifestyle that maintain it. An excess of roads and parking lots, private gardens, fences, sidewalks, and tropical plants. The first 10 centimeters of the ground surface embody most of its operational logic and also its ideology. Ungrounding could be achieved through dismantling of the existing surface. The possible connection between the individual buildings would be reconceived. Connections would be undertaken across a field in which movement is not prescribed by the linear folds of the roads. The molecular level of the occupation is the single-family house on a small plot of land. Investigating ways to transform this repetitive structure may open up new ways to transform the entire geography of occupation. But how to inhabit the home of one's enemy? To inhabit the land is always to do so in relation to either one's present-day enemies or to an imagined or real ancient civilization. This is a condition that turned a habitation into a culturally complex act of co- or transhabitation.
Growing up, settlements were not something I was taught about. The awareness, the relationality, alienation, the danger was something almost instinctively internalized, viscerally felt, automatically adapted to. Settlements were simply an ever-present, a constant looming presence in our daily and symbolic lives. I think as a child I had not completely thought out their presence or their conditioning effect on all of us. Perhaps I still haven't. For me, they were like the dark castles of German fairy tales, foreboding fortresses that devoured and disfigured the surrounding landscape, transforming even their immediate environment into something alien, but somehow near and far at the same time, distant and proximate, places that for a child are almost unfathomable in their inherent threat and externality, but still a part of your daily visual register or sightscape. So they were like black spots on my cognitive map, and in a way that made them perversely alluring. Curiosity and fear intermingled. I remember playing in the valley behind Shafat and running with friends to the foothills that Vizgatzev sits on, staring for a split second at the foreign and brooding concrete contraption, and then darting exhilaratingly back. As I grew older, I think I became more aware of how the settlements ultimately configure so much of our turmoil. I began to come to terms with their role as diffusers of violence. The enclosures, the sieges, the bounding, the repression start to be understood as part of a process that is forging open, stable, normal spaces for the settlers just down the road. At the end, it becomes clear that your abnormality is precisely what allows for their normality, that the shortage of water is being pumped into their swimming pools. When in 2004 we moved from Jerusalem to a flat in Iberia overlooked on by Psagot, my relationship with the settlements suddenly became more immediate. The view from my bedroom window became a source of anxiety, a compromising opening. For a long time, the shutters in that part of the house were continuously closed. I felt like I could be watched and targeted at any given moment by a complex, restless machine constantly staring down at me. In a way, this added to a kind of mystification of the settlement. It wasn't a place I saw as particularly personalized. It was as though the structures themselves were what was active, what was alive and ratified, like they were megalithic, menacing stone monsters, perfectly still for most parts of the day, but capable of untold bodily damage, of enormous outbursts of violence at any given moment. Seeing the settlements up close on a computer screen takes me as close to the innards of this machine as I'll ever get. It's a discordant, but ultimately illuminating experience. It strikes me first as deeply disturbing, an unsettling jolt. All this violence, all this hate and pain for this banality, for a third-rate mimesis of American suburbia, for makeshift grocery stores, limp green lawns, gray homogeneous housing, and the uniform slow tempo of sleepy peripheries. For a colonial suburbia that, like its inspirational provenance, is seemingly devoid of or oblivious to any internal violence or conflict, a space that produces violence but never acknowledges it. A degenerate, ethnically cleansed suburban idyllic in which the contrived normality is somehow mechanized as weapon. And you realize that the continuous, seamless deployment in this war is the encroachment of the most banal, everyday spaces of suburbia. It's a seriously dislocating and absurd realization. But then something else strikes me. From Psagot, I see the burgeoning, expanding region of Ramallah in all its chaotic and relentless built glory. Growing, expanding, getting louder despite everything. What do the settlers think? What do they fear when they see all this construction, all this life and urbanity, this dynamism, when they hear the call to prayer or the frequency of an active, living city? And then I start to see the colony as something a bit pathetic, something a bit moribund, self-asphyxiated, self-ghettoized, and isolated, sad, non-place. And I feel better.
to know more of this group of architects, you just go to decolonizing.ps. They also make, if you are somebody is an architect, or okay, this position is for a UK candidate, but you can ask them for a residency, or if you have any curiosity, you can write them. So that's the website where you can find everything. And for the film I made, there is this, it's called Future Archaeology, sorry, the .net. And also you can find here all of the information about it, and yeah, some pictures, and also the film in full version. Sorry, just a second. Okay. Now I will give you the last thing, a short excursion to some way of the topic of today is a film for peace, and I would like to try to give you some of different ways of making films, and I try to find these three structure. That is, one is for television, documentary, as I'm working in documentary, so they are all documentary, and another are with cinematographic and creative approach, also for make sensibilization, and the other is more artistic and very personal point of view. We can start to watch a trailer that I think is very interesting to understand these three versions. So the film is called Race to Extinction. It's a film about Anthropocene mass extinction that we are going on. And if you, okay, I try to. It's the first time the man.
What's happening now?
What? Oh, wait. So start something. Yes. This is a very television approach with emotional way.
What's happening now is unprecedented in Earth's history.
Why would we want to disrupt something that took billions of years to evolve?
We need to fight it on all fronts.
I think it's dawning on us now that this is the big one.
OPS is a group I formed. It uses covert operations to expose harmed endangered species. We're doing an order here. One bottle cam. Right there's the lens. 2 buttonhole cameras.
Check 1, 2.
Oh, that's good. Just about everything endangered in the world is for sale in China.
Look at this stuff. Endangered, highly endangered, highly endangered.
The more illegal it is, the more you have to go to the back rooms.
We're definitely not welcome here.
Oh my gosh! There's things going on that are probably not safe to talk about.
Climate is controlled by the ocean.
And we're dumping so much carbon in the oceans, it can't take it anymore.
We found this guy, Mr. Lee.
He's culling and processing whale sharks.
Nobody'd ever gotten a camera in there before.
We run into people with badges and uniforms, strip off all this stuff, throw it over a wall.
Is it a basking shark oil?
Jesus. This world is absolutely insane. Wildlife trade is second only to the drug market in the world. It's that lucrative. We need a getaway driver, and I knew one of the best.
I love it.
To create a heist, to hijack the world's attention.
I think we want to put in an order for a car today.
Excellent, we'll take one.
Blow the lid off this place, right?
There's been 5 major extinctions in the history of the planet.
This may be the 6th.
When you're talking about losing all of nature, it's not a spectator sport anymore. Everybody has to become active somehow. The idea is to inspire people.
Imagery is very powerful.
If you can reach people, you can change them.
We can make this happen. We need people to understand it's worth doing.
People that have been in the business that don't even bother.
But better to light one candle than curse the darkness. There's so many people who sit back and say we're screwed. But you know what? That one candle, maybe someone else with a candle will find you. And I think that's where movements are started.
Okay, and this is a very classical structure to make films. There are talking heads, as you see, emotional music, and it makes for very, of course, it made for. So let's maybe try. Okay, I maybe want to show you another one, but with another approach. This is more cinematographic in the same way of documentary too, but it's narrative film, and it's this. And it's called War Photographer. It's made by Christian Frey. It's a Switzerland director. And he made this film on war photographers. So he took the camera and he hung the camera on the photographer. And he was also Oscar nominated for this. So we can look. Okay.
Every minute I was there, I wanted to flee. I did not want to see this. Would I cut and run, or would I deal with the responsibility of being there with a camera?
In one of the world's countless crisis areas, surrounded by suffering, death, violence, and chaos, photographer James Nachtwey searches for the picture he thinks he can publish. A film about a committed, shy man who is considered one of the bravest and most important war photographers of our time, but hardly fits the cliché of the hard-boiled war veteran.
Okay. And another one, it's in competition this year. It's an Italian documentary made by, called Gianfranco Rosi. He won in 2013 Golden Lion in Venice. And is it's called, in Italy, we call it Fuoco a Mare. It's Fire at Sea, the title. It is here in Berlinale for the competition. and this is very cinematographic approach. Okay, he spent a bit of about him. He spent more than 1 year to the island of Lampedusa, and because Lampedusa is the island where there are many immigration now, and he tried to make something different from what we are every day, what the television every day show us. So he tried to, with his sensibility, make a point of view from two perspectives. One is from the Lampedusian people, and the other side, very different, and so because they not meet each other, of the immigrants.
Your position.
33,
Yes.
51, AC, 52.
Okay. And the last one I was told is more artistic and very personal approach, with also personal structure inside of the film. And it's from Arun Farocki. It's a German filmmaker and artist. And the film, it's War at a Distance. It's about after the Gulf War, the technology in military in the military area grow very fast every day, and during the time. So they training for like now there is drones and something like that. And in this film you can see, okay, at that time, because it's from 2003, is Vimeo, how they train.
Siehst du was? Übergang vom freundlichen Gebiet in den militärischen Tiefflug. Eine Umplanung, die ich hiermit aktiviere. Gleichzeitig werde ich bereits von der ersten Missile angegriffen.
Television transmission allows you to approach the target visually.
Hoch war. Das war also Juli. Nicht damit das alles kahl war und man liegt da.
Kamera, die frei beweglich montiert ist, das überflogene Gebiet.
Will the next developments depend on there being a next war, or will?
Yeah, there is no trailer of this film, so it's just an extract of some clip. And yeah, it's for me. It's all. I don't know. Was the idea to
Thank you very much, Francesco, for sharing with us these so interesting videos. And now, dear ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite you, if you have questions, comments, and of course, idea thoughts. Yes, please. I would like to ask you a question. You're Italian.
Yeah.
Most of your time you spend in Italy. And nowadays, unfortunately, Italy is one of the country which is facing maybe the first, together with Greece also, really facing the firstly and the biggest challenge
for the immigrants?
For the refugees, yes. I'm just looking for the best verb how to explain really, in my opinion, this big challenge to welcome these people, because we are really trying to welcome them. My idea, I would like to ask you for the people opinion, probably quite controversial, and your personal, of course.
Yeah, in Italy there is, of course, there is the Pope, and there are many places for the immigrants, for example, and but they don't want to come to Italy. They want to because the Lampedusa is the island very close to Africa, so they just come there, and then they call asylum because the idea is to cross the Italy and go to the north of Europe, like France and United Kingdom. So now in the United Kingdom there is this between the border France and the United Kingdom, there is Dover-Calais place, and now there is a kind of, it's not a refugee camp, it's a kind of city, it's a jungle, where immigrants stay. But personally, I don't see problem with this initially directly of this kind of thing, because it's structured in the problems comes always in the borders of the cities. There were problems between Italy and France of the borders because they were so much people, and in France they closed the border, and also it happens in Germany, and something was not so good because it's against the European United European Accord, and it's
I think that really European Union gives enough support to Italy in this situation.
Oh my God.
How you feel it? Because here from Berlin and Germany, you are facing different problems with the refugees. This is actually my question. Italy is really the first country that meet people in Europe, and because of this, probably you're having completely different challenges.
But it's maybe, I don't know very well here in Germany or in France, but in Italy, as I'm living in Milan, it's a very central city north, and you don't see how it works because they come to Lampedusa. So maybe you see this situation in the south of Italy better, or along the sea of the coast of the Italy. So,
as artists, what is your opinion? Are you really able to find peace and really to welcome these people and to help them with their personal tragedies, which happen every day near to Lampedusa?
Is what I do with the Palestinian film. The film, of course, it's it's for peace between Palestinian situation that is going since 1950. So, it's also an utopic project because probably it will never change. So, yeah, you still convinced that something can change, but in Palestinian, it's since 50 years. So the immigration is not so long time, but it's something happened. So it's kind of change for me. It's very interesting because Italy is very, for cultural, but I speak for me, because in Italy it's so conservative. Also the people, they married between Italian, so historical, no? The Pope is in Italy, the church, and everything, is very conservative. So now I think, not also for the immigrants, but this is a kind of way that something changed, maybe it's the way of thinking more in a much more big state or country, not just Italy and Italian. It's more Europe way of thinking. And when this happened, for example, in 2007, the new states comes into the European Union, like Bulgaria, Hungary,
yes.
Romania, that it makes so for the economy of course, I don't know in Germany, but in Italy makes the transportation economy where it's gone very down for the prices, of course, because there were different prices, so it makes very strange and many factory close and transportation service close in Italy, and in particular always in the border area of Italy makes that. But now it's changed and it's gone better, I think, for the new states. Yeah, 2007 is some years now, and the services are growing.
Yeah. It's very, very good that we are seeing good development from this point of view.
Yeah, of course, the freight transportation are 80% in Europe by trucks. So it's very huge. No, just to give a way of, yeah.
Hi. Thank you very much for the film. I think any initiative towards approaching the conflict and also making public the fact that it's still there is good. Now, having said that, I'm willing to be a little bit polemic. Do you not receive any critics because of dealing with the issue of colonization by talking about how colonization should be done? Meaning that the discussion is about how the colonies should be dealt with. So are you not in a way legitimizing the fact that the colonies are existing?
I don't understand. The colonies?
So, for example, if you are in a negotiation and if you start negotiating, you are accepting that the other part exists. Mm-hmm. So in this particular case, the film is about how the colonies should be settled. So
yes.
Are you not legitimizing the fact that the colonies are existing by entering the discussion? Having said that, I think it is a good initiative. But did you not receive this kind of critics from Palestinians?
Yeah, it's different to take position, I think, because when you take the position of Palestine, you are kind of in the right position, and when you take the position of Israeli people, you're in something wrong. Of course, I don't know why, but I'm not very well prepared on the situation of Palestine in deeper. There were another trailer I didn't show you, made from another director. It's called Eyal Sivan. It is Israeli. Well, for example, one of the guys speaking in my video is in a kind of blacklist of the Israeli. He's an Israeli man, but he's not very welcome to Israel because he's trying. Because also Israeli people mix with this kind. They feel or they have sensibility of this kind of situation. And another guy, this Eyal Sivan, made a trip. He is Israeli, and another guy is Palestinian. They made a trip with this 1950 line made by the United Nations, and they had this trip. They call it Route 181, and from north to south, and they meet the people from one side and to the other side, and they get the opinion. So maybe, oh. Wow.
I was interested with the different forms of using film to build
sorry,
these.
the homes?
The different trailers
Yes.
that you showed us. And I'd like to know a bit more what you think about the different ways that they could be used. So you showed us a more documentary style, something that was a bit more sensational, and then one you said that was more an artistic endeavor. How do you think these three different forms can work to cross cultural divides and bring discussion and build peace?
The first films were much more television thing for me, and of course it was more. It's just three different ways of sensibility or to give to the people the director perception. So maybe I understand your question.
Which do you think is most effective?
Okay. For me, my personal view, because I am growing with films, is more documentary narrative way, and it's becoming it's kind of new narrative documentary because it's starting now, also in Italy, but much more in Europe, mixing between fiction and reality together. So you have a cinematographic approach, and you tell true stories. So as documentary, you should say true things, and sometimes the truth is go beyond the fiction. So yeah, for me, I'm trying also. Yeah, I've made a film that is more. It's a documentary feature film. I just closed. It's narrative film and with a cinematographic approach, but it's not a film for it's a love story film. So it's yeah.
When you're making a narrative documentary, how do you approach it when you may have your own artistic agenda, a side that you want to show, but you also have to show the truth as it is? I don't know. I don't know how to ask that question very well. But when you have that narrative element, when you're trying to make it very palatable for the audience who's going to watch it, that they're going to be engaged, how do you also tell the truth in its entirety?
For me, for example, I spent for the film I made. I spent a lot of time with the people, and I shot so many hours. And the biggest of the work was made in post-production during the editing. So the film born in post-production. So what?
How would you stay true to the story?
Yeah, the story is true. For example, in my film there are a couple of truck drivers. She is a Moroccan girl and she drives also, and he is for real, and he is a Calabrian Italian man. And the first idea of the film was it was not narrative. It was much more to give. The idea was to try to create something, a portrait of the contemporary Europe by freight transportation. And I start to meet some truck drivers, And the idea was to follow this line that is, because Europe is divided in 10 corridors for transportation. And I decided to do the corridor that crossed the new states from Dresda to Istanbul until the Silk Road. And after that, I met them. And when I met them, I changed everything. So I fell in love with these two people, and they decided to tell in one side their love story. That is, in the film, it's kind of to tell how it's impossible live in 2 meters square, 24 hours a day, because they live in the truck, 360 days a year. And of course, I tell you the end. They split, of course, because it's impossible for me, or to live together in such a place. Yeah. It's gone, the microphone.
Yeah, final question we have here.
Thank you so much for the screening. My question is related to this issue of the effectiveness of documentary or the type of showing the message to the audience. And I would like you to comment a little more on Gianfranco Rossi's film, Fire at Sea, and the fact that it's a commentless, there's no comment during the film.
No comments.
And I would like you to comment further, and maybe would you think that it would be well received by the jury of the Berlinale, or the fate of a non-comment film about this sad fact? Thank you.
So maybe I don't.
Sorry, the question is that you think it's going to be well received, this
Yeah.
this film without comments, or it could be if the message is going to be effective and if it is going to be well received by the jury. Thank you.
Yeah, I think so. Initially, it's gone. I read also some critics, and it's gone very, very, very well, I think, because it's also very. He made a kind of it's in a way some fictional, so it's a cinematographic film. Then it's true, so you have the truth in front of you. So what you see is real because he stayed there for more than 1 year. So if I know Gianfranco, no. Yeah, but it's very contemporary film. That's maybe it could be I don't know the jury, how they will decide which film will win. But this I think have a good possibility because it touch Italy. Is not just an Italian film because it touch Italy, it touch France, Germany, United Kingdom. So it's very European film, and very contemporary. So he made it in time,
Okay. Thank you very much one more time for coming and being here with us today. And please join me to extend our sincere gratitude to Mr. Francesco Mattuzzi. Thank you.
Thank you.